Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we'll be looking at the Beastmen once again, more specifically a detailed guide of sorts regarding everything to do with Herdstones. The settlement feature for the Beastmen, so let's not waste any more time and jump right in. Herdstones are rather important because of course building up Herdstones and completing anything associated with it will grant you Marks of Ruination, with Marks of Ruination being your main currency to be able to progress through the campaign. In fact, to unlock the final battle to finish the campaign, you will need to gain a lot of Marks of Ruination, so you will need to build up a decent amount of Herdstones. Building up a Herdstone is rather simple. If you have enough of the Herdstone shards, that purple icon at the top of your screen, then you can attack any settlement that you wish and be able to build up a Herdstone. You can build up a Herdstone pretty much anywhere, and it doesn't matter if it's a major or a minor settlement. Though positioning your Herdstone is rather important, as of course there are a few factors that come into play here. For example, here with Torox the Brass Ball, I'm looking to make a Herdstone at Hag Hall. As you can see, once clicking on the settlement, a bunch of numbers will appear, not only on Hag Hall, but also in all the adjoining settlements. As you can see, there is a decent amount of settlements that are connected directly to Hag Hall. This is because that specific group of settlements will then help you build up your Herdstone. There's a few factors that come into play, but it is important to know this as some locations from Herdstones might be better than others. Torox the Brass Ball had around 5 settlements next to Hag Hall in the associated area. Kazrak the One-Eye, for example, who starts in Estalia, only has 3, one of them being Skavenblight. You don't have to build a Herdstone wherever you start, but obviously getting started very early is quite important. So Kazrak here has got the short end of the stick, as of course, Estalia is a very small country, there's not a lot of areas where you can build up, and that makes it slower for you to build up your Herdstone. Whereas Malagor the Dark Omen, for example, has possibly the best starting Herdstone, as there are 7 direct regions connected to the area where you start. This of course means faster acquisition of points, which will then allow you to complete your ritual and get more Marks of Ruination. You don't have to build your Herdstone as soon as you begin, however, if you have a decent location where you start, it's always best to start early. Now for the purpose of this guide, I will continue mostly with Malagor, as Malagor is possibly the easiest one to play and the fastest one to get my point across. As you get your Herdstone up and running, you will then need to get Devastation, which is a resource directly tied to each of your Herdstones. Devastation worth is clearly marked above all adjoining settlements. You will only need 10 to actually complete the ritual, however if there's a decent amount of settlements around you, you will want to earn more, as of course the more Devastation points you get, the more Marks of Ruination you will also acquire. This is of course incredibly beneficial to the Beastmen, as the more Marks of Ruination you get, the more you'll progress for your campaign. You'll also have increased army caps, so you'll be able to recruit more armies. Keep in mind that you only have access to 1 at the very beginning of your campaign, and you'll also be able to start increasing unit caps for certain units. Everything is pretty much tied to this mechanic. Attacking settlements is not the only way to get Devastation. As you can see here, there is an army of vampire counts that are just far enough from their settlement. Now, attacking them and destroying them will also grant us some Devastation too, meaning that as your enemies are arriving into these locations, anything which is associated with your Herdstone, the blood ground as it is, will then be worth a certain amount of extra resource. As you can see here, I've acquired 48 Devastation through 25 turns. That's actually pretty good, as I've been fighting a different amount of factions, so I've still had variety when playing, but also gaining a lot of this resource. This will take me from Ruination level 1 to Ruination level 2, and the benefit of this is that now I can start recruiting another army. I've had to protect my Herdstone, as my enemies will go for it, especially when higher difficulties are involved, as player bias is very obvious there. Now I can have a other army to be able to defend it or go about and do something else. You'll also notice that now being able to hit Ruination level 2 will also allow me to increase the capacity of Centaurs, Gors, and even Chariots. They might not be the highest tier units, but it does take a while until you can start getting stronger and stronger units. After completing this ritual, there's also some other benefits too. One issue that the Beastmen always had is that they would knock out a few settlements and they would be colonized shortly after, but the Herdstone completely changes that. The Herdstone itself will then act as a central hub for everything that you've destroyed that was in the associated Bloodground. Those destroyed settlements cannot be resettled until the Herdstone is destroyed, so it's up to you if you want to defend it or not. There is one associated settlement that I did miss out, Numas of the Tomb Kings. Now, if that gets destroyed, that cannot get recolonized, so it's up to you. You don't have to go destroy it if you don't want to, and especially if you don't want to get into war with the Tomb Kings just yet. As soon as you finish your Herdstone ritual, you will instantly gain your resource back, meaning that if you want to and you have another army in another location, you can instantly start another Herdstone and also begin a new ritual. Of course, early on you won't be able to do this, as early on you'll only have access to one army, but it does help for the future where you can have multiple armies at different locations around the world map. Something important to note here is that when building new Herdstones, overlap can indeed happen. This happens when you build up a Herdstone very close to your other one. Any associated settlements in the Bloodground can overlap into the new Bloodground too, which can be a bit of a problem depending on location. You see here, it's only just one settlement. Since it's early into your campaign, it's unlikely that this will be resettled by any other faction, which doesn't matter too much. As I've said. There are a few other settlements in the location which are worth enough devastation points, though this can be an issue in another location of the map where there might just not be that many settlements, and therefore you might not get that many marks of ruination. All this will really do is slow down your campaign, and you won't have too much of an issue as long as you're moving around and conquering as much as possible. Herdstones are in fact Beastmen settlements, which means that this is your central hub for many locations that you may erect them. From here you'll be able to build up the Herdstone, make it more powerful so you'll be able to defend it, get a better garrison, get a lot of benefits, and of course be able to build up armies. You can recruit lords here should you have the army capacity. You will notice, however, that these Herdstones will not be able to be upgraded in the conventional way. You will need to use your Dread resource to be able to upgrade the Herdstones. And yes, the Beastmen now are very resource heavy, however this does have its benefits too. You'll see here that any newly erected Herdstones, once you've purchased those upgrades, will begin at that level. And yes, this also counts to minor settlements, meaning that if you already have it unlocked to upgrade to level 5, a Herdstone erected at a minor settlement can also upgrade all the way to level 5 too. That's absolutely fantastic, meaning that everything is essentially a capital for you. The extra benefit is that increasing the level of a Herdstone after you've used your Dread will not cost you a single cent. Gold will not be used to upgrade Herdstones whatsoever. In fact, gold is only used pretty much for certain other buildings, and that's pretty much it. Meaning that you will be able to get a better garrison without it costing you too much. Of course, there are other buildings that come into play. Herdstones will have access to 4 unique building trees within the actual settlement. These will provide a variety of bonuses. The first one will focus around casualty replenishment, with increased recruitment capacity and chaos corruption as you level it up. The second will focus around winds of magic and increased dread gain from battles, and these are a faction-wide bonus. This is perhaps the best building that you can acquire through all Herdstones. I do suggest building this one up as much as possible through all your Herdstones, as this is going to be a very needed resource for you. The third will focus around mostly debuffs to enemies during sieges, which in all honesty is probably not as good, as you're going to have a lot of big beasties should you buy the new DLC too. You're going to be able to smash in without a problem. The fourth will also have some debuffs for your enemies. This is mostly centered around reduction of campaign movement and making the enemies winded in battle. Also, there's a chance to spawn a plague. But as I said, probably the first two are the best ones. These will be used every now and then, but I don't see them being critical to your gameplay. If an enemy picks up a destroyed settlement, it might not be worth any devastation points until they build it up. However, if said enemy army is inside, they'll still be worth some devastation points, so if you do see this, the enemy army is of course weaker and you can take advantage of this and just get some easy devastation. If you want to defend any Herdstones due to the fact that you might be playing higher difficulties, and of course player bias is a big thing here, you can easily spawn in an army should you have the available capacity and have them raid right next to your settlement. There are no negatives whatsoever for this, meaning that you can have them gaining some experience bit by bit, and obviously their bestial rage will also keep up and running, so you won't have any negative effects to horde growth. You don't have to deal with any public order issues or anything, which is fantastic because, well, it would make no sense if Beastmen had any sort of public order. All Beastmen Herdstones can be upgraded to level 5, though you will have a limited amount of building slots to be able to build up the enhancements. You will not be able to get every single different enhancement for each Herdstone, so choose wisely which one you want to build up, of course. There will be some obvious exceptions to the rule where you might get some extra buildings. For example, building a Herdstone on a port settlement will also get you some bestial landings. It's the Beastmen version of the port. Some minor benefits come into play here, like increased casualty replenishment and a bit extra units when it comes to a garrison, but nothing too special. Capturing racial capitals will also be quite the benefit here, as they are considered special Herdstones. Most of them are incredibly well themed, as say for example here where I've taken over Blackcrag, we'll get some extra bonuses when fighting against other greenskins. There's also some other faction-wide benefits, like for example increased income from post-battle loot. That's absolutely fantastic as it's faction-wide, so you will have incentive to go around and start taking any racial capitals. I'm not going to show them all off in this video, as of course there are quite a few, and I do want to leave some things out to be surprises for the player base. No fun showing completely everything. An extra benefit of the Herdstone mechanic is that you'll also be able to find any Skaven settlements. As you can see here, Iron Rock has been taken over by Queek Headtaker. We wouldn't be able to know this unless we saw armies leave, or for example we attack the settlement directly, but as we click on and find out what's got devastation points, we can see that Iron Rock has some devastation points. As a final note, we'll once again go back to the placement of Herdstones. As you can see here, I've recently taken over Karazakarak. The blood ground here is absolutely massive, where it's not around 5 settlements but rather 9, meaning that if you've got a few armies moving about, you can probably get a lot of marks of ruination just from this area. This is why I say it's quite important to look around, as there's a lot of different locations which have a concentrated amount of settlements around the area, and you can greatly benefit from that if you decide to go for that directly. But this is my complete guide to Beastmen Herdstones. Hopefully you'll find this useful, as of course the Beastmen Herdstones will be able to be constructed by yourself on July 14th. It's not long now. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fame level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.